everybody, this is Paul, and I'm back at Wallace Ranch with Julio Robles, and here's something that I'm going to call a chimera graft. I heard about it in 2019, and basically it's a Vietnamese white and a sugar dragon cut in half. So could you explain what you did
You can see right here, you can see where the two cuttings meet together.
So right here,
Yeah.
you just took two young cuttings.
Two young cuttings, split it in half, even the core.
Even the core.
Even the core.
So
yeah.
just cut the two branches
Two
right
branches.
down the middle.
Yeah.
Younger, softer, and you
Put
wrap
it
them up.
together, tape it around all the way, and then start growing. And when they start growing, I was putting attention to the new growth. If they look like Vietnamese white, then I start taking them off.
So you cut off the growth.
Same with the sugar dragon. Until I see that they start coming something different, and that's what I leave these two.
Oh, so as it created new growth, you just prune until it was growing up straight through that core that you melded together. Oh, that's brilliant. That's how it worked. So when you did that and cut, you grew this thing out and it produced fruit.
Yeah.
And so this fruit here is sugar dragon, half sugar dragon and half Vietnamese white.
Yeah.
And it's magenta flavor, fleshed inside. There's ants on me. But look at that. That's not a sugar dragon. That's not a Vietnamese white. And so to me, I think what Julio did is something really interesting, and I'm not sure if people are going to replicate it, but it just shows that these plants will hybridize or form a chimera, I think is better, when you meld two different varieties together through grafting.
See, you can still see
and just promote
right
that
here
graft
what I
growth.
mark it. SD and white.
Oh. That's so crazy. And I mean, look at that. It's a unique shaped fruit. So I remember seeing this in 2019 and hearing about it. So I'm really excited to be back here again and just hear the story and share this with you. I mean, obviously you can see that that is not a sugar dragon fruit.
Way bigger.
And it is definitely not a Vietnamese white fruit. And then look at the branches, you can see, looks more Vietnamese white to me.
Looks like, yeah.
But maybe a little bit of the
they got
different
little
color.
bit-
That's a bit of the
Chicken
color
dragon.
of sugar dragon.
Yeah, it's a different color.
It's got that oliveness
It
to
does
it.
have it. And the
So-
thorn pattern is really different.
And you're still evaluating it. It's not for sale. You're just
No.
assessing it. And it's one of the unique varieties in the collection of, how many plants? 5,000 plants you have here?
Yeah, we have over 5,000 plants and
Wow.
another 2,000 in buckets waiting to go.
So we're gonna hit 10,000 here in no time, right?
we're out of room. We're out of room.
And see, this is another one that I try over here. This was Orejona with American Beauty too, and this didn't make it.
So this is a graft?
Yeah. This is AB and Orejona, and they never made it. You can see half is AB and half is Orejona.
So you used a similar
The
technique.
similar technique,
And it
Got it.
didn't
make
form a chimera. It kept the
Yeah.
two varieties. So
Yeah.
Orejona and American,
and American Beauty. Yeah.
Yeah, side by side, huh?
Yeah.
That is so interesting. And so even, it's been several years now since you
Yeah,
did
it's the
this?
same. I do it at the same time.
Same time.
Yeah.
And totally different results.
Seems happy. That's for sure.
Wow. Hello everyone, this is Paul, and here are my first two successful attempts at trying to recreate the Wallace Ranch hybrid. As you can see here, Julio Robles at Wallace Ranch used sugar dragon and Vietnamese white to create a new hybrid, and they've been growing it for several years. Now you can see we also got to taste the fruit, and it was very unique. Sweet, reminded me of a lot of sugar dragon, but definitely different, slightly different texture, and very exciting. They even were willing to sell a few cuttings this season. So I'm interested to see what becomes of that unique plant. Now you can see here, I think this one on the left is a more successful union. It's nice and straight, and it's more two-sided. So I'm gonna show you how I did this, and we'll try to recreate it tonight. Versus this one, which is four-sided, and you can see there's two rows here fused together. I use 6S and Natural Mystic. So definitely a nice solid union. You can see here that I also did this really small one. And it's definitely a unique graft. This is G2 and Jade Red, but it's got this gap in here. Let's see if you can see it. See it right here? So it's not the best union, but it is really close together. It's really fused together from here to here. So we'll see what becomes of this. I'm gonna tip it and plant it, and we'll see what happens. All right, let me show you how I did this. Okay, So I've asked Julio several questions, and here's what I know. He used younger growth, the same season branches, and they were around a foot long, or at least he cut them back a foot. So these are curved, which is not ideal, but if you see, this curvature is very similar, so this is going to be the goal. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them back to about a foot, just to make it simple. As you can see here. It's very young growth. I could graft that if I want. I'm going to try to match the length here. Okay, there we go. So now I'm going to want to cut them and kind of do something like this. Now also I want to cut them in such a way to where I definitely want 2 or 3 sides, not 4. So you have to be really careful about how you cut it. And let's see how I'm going to cut this one. Let me think. So in this case, I think I'm going to cut and keep 2 sides of this. So right down the center. This is a lot harder to do than you think. Again, younger growth is key. You don't want a core that's very developed. And right down, all the way. There. So there we go, that looks pretty good. Now everything's been sterilized, and I don't really want to touch any of that. So now I need to make sure how I get it to be at the same angle without messing it up. Be like that. Okay. And I think for this one, I'm just going to do a nice thick 1 branch. That's right where I want to be, okay. Again, this is a lot harder than you think. But it is sort of like splitting a log, and you can kind of just stay in that core. I was honestly preferring to have more of the core on this, which I did not get. And so this is going to be 4-sided, which I don't really want. But that's okay. This will just be, I'm going to have to dispose of the other pieces. I think it's worth it to get there. That's exactly what I want. See that? In my humble opinion, this is kind of how you want it. So now, if I did it right, I should be able to bind these up pretty well. And that's the most important part. It almost works to have an extra hand to do this, honestly. But that is something I don't have. Now this will definitely be something unique if it works, because these flowers couldn't be any more different. So I'll know right away if it was successful or not once it flowers. And obviously if the growth looks unique. And that's what Julio said to look for. So now, I'm gonna just get this all matched up as best as I can, because you really want a good union. I used no shame in using a lot of tape. There. And that's basically the graft. That's what I did. Now you can see I did 3 sides, and I cut it from the tip down to the stem. So this could be just the Wallace Ranch graft could just be a once in a blue moon event, but hopefully more dragon fruit enthusiasts can try this and see if they can get something unique, just like Julio did at Wallace Ranch. Greetings, fellow dragon fruit growers. This is Paul, and here is the 16-day update on the graft. The Wallace Ranch style graft is what I'm calling it, where it's basically a 50-50 graft of Desert King seedling and Paul Thompson 6S. So I'm going to unwrap this in just a second, but I wanted to show you a success and a failure of the graft that I did it a month ago. So these are both the same plant, 6S and Natural Mystic, and the one on the left is rooted successfully inside my greenhouse, but it's getting so cold I'm going to put it indoors. I'll show you that in a minute. And then here is my failure, and I think what happened is it was too hot. We had a really hot day. It got 99 degrees in the greenhouse, and that's where it started to yellow and rot. And ironically, it's just on the Natural Mystic side. The 6S is fine, and so this one is rooted as well, just slightly. So I'm going to leave them alone and just see what happens, especially to the failure, see how the plant responds. Okay, in addition, I did want to share really quickly that I'm starting to root with just pure Vermistera earthworm castings and distilled water. So you can see all the roots in there, and I just left this in there for about 2 months. And I watered it, I don't know, 2 or 3 times a month, and you can see it's just got prolific roots. So you can root a cutting in pure earthworm castings, and that's what I'm gonna do with this one. So let's go ahead and unwrap this and see what happens. See if it's a success or a failure. But I did want to mention, rooting with earthworm castings is actually a pretty good strategy because there's lots of beneficial microbes, and it should minimize your chances of rot. I have not had any rot inside the earthworm castings yet. Not even this little Sarong's orange dragon. So I rooted this one in those earthworm castings in just about 3 weeks. That's pretty impressive this time of year in Southern California, Zone 9B. Because this is where you really want to start changing your strategies for rooting cuttings, because it just gets so cold. All right, let me focus on this. Hopefully I don't damage it or pull it apart. So it is pretty dried out, and that's the challenge, is using young cuttings, because I think that's the most successful. Using young cuttings should be the most successful way to get this to work, to create a somatic fusion, where you could take 2 varieties and produce a new variety from it. It's looking pretty good so far. Definitely dried. And let me finish unwrapping this for you. Okay, so here it is. Finally got all the tape off. And it's looking decent. It's not totally straight. There's a good fusion here. You can see it's a really good fusion. And down at the stem, it's decent. So it's definitely fused together from about here to about here. And that's a problem I'm having is, do I want to keep these separate? Or what if I actually just graft it in the future, cut the meristem here and graft it together and use one? I'm just gonna keep playing around with it until hopefully we can see something successful. I expect it's gonna be pretty rare to have success on this, but it's gonna be fun trying. And I really look forward to somebody in the community to being successful and creating another somatic fusion. So anyways, let me show you what I'm gonna do next to hopefully get this to root and not rot like this one, because this is not what I want. You can see it's probably, I expect this whole thing will just die and the success will live on. So all right, let's get in the garage and I'll show you the next steps for this wonderful graft. So here in the garage you can see we have a heating mat set up, 81 degrees, and I'm using distilled water to root some very unhappy cutting. Now you want to use distilled water because sometimes if you have hard water, it can really inhibit the growth of the roots. Also have this grow light on 24 hours to really hopefully get some new growth off of that successful graft over there. Now you can see I have also a cutting here that was very unhappy. It has megalanthus DNA, and those tend to be really stubborn to root sometimes. And so hopefully this one will bounce back. You can see I'm using pure earthworm castings, nice thin layer, and then I push the cutting down to get roots. So that way it's into that nice warm environment. I water it very lightly. I would tend to use a spray bottle. However, you don't want to get the graft like this wet because it's going to end up promoting some rot and you're going to have some problems. So you can see here I did tip this, and this is the half 6S, half Desert King. You can see it's dried out, and we'll see if we can get some successful sort of fusion. I am doubtful, but I am going to hope on this thorn something's going to happen. Now, I would recommend if you want to maybe try something more successful is to use this tool. You can find these online. They call them weather stripping tools or weather V-cutting tools, I believe. And what I would do is I would cut and do the graft this method, but I would cut this thorn in half, the node, and fuse two of those together. So somebody with a lot of expert precision could maybe try that and see if you could get a successful fusion that way. So there you go. That's what I like to do. Again, grow light on 24 hours. You can set this thing 80 to 85 degrees. I have it for 81 degrees right now. And if it gets colder in our garage, what I'll do is I'll build and put boxes around this to build more of a warming area. And again, I can leave this light on for 24 hours a day. It doesn't cause any problems. It just really forces these plants to come out of dormancy, root, and get some new growth. So there you go. Give us a like and a subscribe. We'll keep you updated on this interesting graft that Julio had success with. All right. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a wonderful day.